Hello everyone, welcome to TLC Both. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce our guest today, Mr. Ajay Bhagwat, founder, member and managing director of Renu Electronics. After completing his BTech in electrical engineering from IIT Bombay, Mr. Bhagwat did computer and electrical engineering from University of Iowa, USA. Under his leadership, Renu Electronics has been adjudged as the best company in electronics in the state of Maharashtra several times. Renu Electronics has its headquarters in Pune and sales offices in US, Europe and Singapore. Mr. Bhagwat has been a founder member of various other companies and served as a director on the boards of various companies like KPIT Information Technology Limited, Cummins Information Technology Limited, Electronica Mechatronics Limited, Prism Electronics Inc., LR Med Inc., and many others. Over the years, Mr. Bhagwat has been conferred with Entrepreneur of the Year award by various organizations, including Excellence in Entrepreneurship Award by Entrepreneurs International in 2013. With this, I welcome Mr. Ajay Bhagwat to TLC Both 2021 and invite him to address us. Thank you.
Thank you, Snigdha. Now let's see corporate video of Renu Electronics Limited.
Renu Electronics is an Indian company with global presence. We manufacture very high quality products in the factory automation, healthcare and home automation domains. We service our products all over the world through our offices in Chicago, Munich and Singapore. Our strength has always been in design and manufacturing. We started designing products almost 27 years ago, and today we are proud to say that all our products comply to global standards and we are able to ship our products worldwide because of that. Our team, which is comparable to the best in the world, has been able to take us from a small 10-foot by 10-foot room to over 50,000 square feet of manufacturing and design and marketing areas, and we continue to look forward to the growth that we have witnessed in the last few years. Our vision has been to be on the global map whenever it comes to the electronic products range. We are proud to be an Indian company. We are proud to have a great team, proud to have great products and great customers all over the world. Thank you.
Wow, that was truly amazing. Let's welcome Mr. Ajay Bhagwat to deliver his speech, please.
So good evening friends. First of all, thank you very much TLC, the Teaching and Learning Community, I just heard about the various activities that this community does, and thank you, Mr. Bagwe, for founding this initiative and helping entrepreneurs like you and me in scaling up our businesses and becoming successful in life. This particular topic is very close to my own heart because I believe that entrepreneurship is the only way forward for our country, and we need to really help build as many entrepreneurs as possible and do whatever it takes to help them succeed. So today I'm going to talk about execution of strategy to scale. So this is a topic again that's very important. I'm aware that a lot of the people in the audience are younger startup companies aspiring to scale their businesses, take it to the next level. So I'm going to talk largely about that. And Anand has already covered some of the very fundamental topics, and it's great to learn from someone like Anand about how to scale your business and what are the various things that you need to do. So what I'm going to talk about is taking cue from that and actually take it down to what exactly you need to do to get it to work. So we'll take an example and see what kind of challenges are faced in scaling up a company and taking it forward. So first of all, let me just say a quick disclaimer. So you should all be aware that there is no silver bullet. Okay. So don't believe it if somebody tells you that there is one, because there is none. There is nothing like do this and everything will work for you. For sure that doesn't happen. What works for one may not actually work for somebody else. And from my experience, I'm going to share what all we have learned. It may or may not work for you, but the basics are same regardless of the domain you work in, the kind of industry you work in, and what kind of business you are, etc. I'm myself one of the founding members of the TiE Pune chapter, and I used to run the mentorship program at TiE Pune. And we also founded a structured mentorship program called Nurture about 8 years ago, and I ran that for a few years. And in that course of last several years, I've seen hundreds and hundreds of companies in our mentorship sessions try to look at their problems, try to see how we can help them, etc. So what I'm going to share today is essentially what we learned from working with all these companies. And that's why I can honestly say that the fundamental issues that we talk about in scale up are roughly the same regardless of what it is that you do. The only thing I would advise is, of course, keep your eyes open, apply the concepts, and keep checking and track your progress for sure. So today we're going to talk about scaling. So what exactly is scaling? Scaling is basically going from point A to point B. One of the common mistakes I have seen people make is to think that scaling is all about top line and profits. Of course, top line and profits are important, but keep in mind that that is never the thing that you do, it's a result of what you do. So essentially, scaling up requires various tasks which result in better revenue and higher profitability. It's not that you say that, okay, I want to scale up to X rupees or something. You usually should say, okay, I want to scale up and do so many units per month or so many customers, etc., etc. And the strategy for that is what you execute, and the result is the top line growth and the profit growth. Of course, we want this journey from point A to point B to be deterministic and not very reactive. What I mean by that is, you should be able to plan and execute rather than be reactive to what happens outside of your company, because frankly, a success that is not repeatable, in my opinion, is not exactly success. It's probably you got lucky. For you to grow sustainably and consistently, you must make the success repeatable, and the only way that can be done, in my opinion, is to make it process oriented and system oriented. So let's talk about, what does it take? First thing that is most important is do we understand what exactly our business is? So every business is different. However, it is the differences that drive our businesses. You can't really say that my business is exactly like so and so, because then you're no different from that person, and there's nothing different that you can do to help yourself. Is the difference between what happens in the current businesses that are around there and between yourself is what will drive your business. And it's your job to exploit those differences to your advantage and help yourself grow. One very common thing I've seen during my experience in mentoring is that many entrepreneurs are really confused about what exactly it is that they're doing. So like we say, apna dhanda kya hai? What is the exact business that we are in? I'll give you an example. So 3 years ago, we had a company that came to us for mentorship, and this company used to make some specific chemicals and so on, and their business at that time, as they told me, was it would help you clean your car without using water. So they would talk about, okay, we are a company that saves water, and they would sell that chemical. But actually what they were doing is they were going to various societies and various customers, and they would actually clean the car for that customer using their technology. So we looked at that company and we looked at what kind of business it is. So is it a business of selling that chemical? Is it a business of the platform that they had built to access customers and servicing the customers? Or is it the business which included actually cleaning the car? And turned out that the scale up really required them to clean cars in roughly about 10,000 societies, because their target was, okay, how do I get to about 50 crores of business? So we started looking at it and said, well, how many people would you need on your payroll to be able to get to 50 crores? And turned out that some number like 1,000 plus, So I asked this young man, so do you even know how to hire 1,000 people who are capable of cleaning cars? Are you even capable of retaining them? Because all of these are going to be typically low salaried people, and their needs are very different. The skills required to manage them is very different. Do you have those skill sets, or are you a person who is good at developing a cell phone app which allows you to access customers? And turns out that he could not even manage 50 people, let alone 1,000. So it's very important to keep asking this question, apna dhanda kya hai? What is it that you want to do? Because that's what will tell you, do you have the skill sets to run and scale that business? Similarly, anybody will tell you that you should know the strengths and weaknesses of your business. But what's more important is to analyze what are the success parameters for my business. So for example, what is it that I need to be successful in my business? Is it the capital? To take an example, suppose you are in the business of building a new molecule that cures a disease. So what does it take to be successful in that business? Well, you have to bring in a lot of capital. We know very well that an R&D expenditure for doing something like that will be very high. The cost of getting it certified will be very high. So before you see any sales, you'll be burning a lot of cash. So capital is one of the parameters that are required to be successful in business like that. Is it technology? So for example, you may still have the capital, but if you don't have access to the technology, you won't be able to succeed in the business. Or is it sales access to customers, ability to build a brand, ability to support, and so on and so forth. I'm sure you know where I'm going with this. Essentially, for your business, it's very important that you analyze what are the parameters which are very critical to succeed in my business. And once you analyze that, you got to figure out, do you have access to that particular resource? If not, how are you going to get to that? So what are the different considerations? So clearly we talked about you want to go from point A to point B. That's what we call scaling. It obviously presupposes that you know the point A, that means where you are. That's the least you have to know. For example, you should know like things like apna dhanda kya hai, what is it that I'm doing? What are my current revenue? What is my current revenue? What is my current profitability? What is the number of employees I have? What is the number of customers I have? What is the average cost of acquisition per customer? What is the revenue realization per customer, etc., etc. And I'm not even differentiating between a product business and service business or such at this time, I think these fundamentals remain the same. Of course, a lot of my own experience comes from running product businesses because that's what we are. However, the same principles apply to service businesses as well. Fundamentals don't change. So, once you know the point A, clearly you need to figure out what is my point B, where do I want to take my business. When I say I want to scale it, what is the next level I want to take it to. So, you must visualize that point B, and Anand already talked about how to visualize to realize. So, there of course you want to talk about what does my company look like, what does my business look like when I reach that point B. Now, you will ask, how would I know this? How would I know what my business will look like? Because most people, like I said earlier, can say something like, okay, I want to scale my business to 50 crores. But what does the business look like at 50 crores? How do I know? Well, my suggestion is you can learn from other businesses, similar businesses as yours. What do they look like when they are at a scale that you're talking about, that you want to go to? You can learn from customers, you can learn from vendors, you can learn from key employees, you can, and so on and so forth. But it's very important that you paint a picture of that business, that what it looks like at that particular point B. Then you must analyze the gaps between what the business looks like at point B and where you are today, because unless you bridge those gaps, you are not going to get to that point B. Okay, I think that should be obvious. Also, like Anand said and very famously said by many other people, what brought you to this point A most likely will not take you to point B. So many a times you have to look at doing things differently to be able to take your business to point B. This journey from point A to point B is obviously difficult. Had it been simple, everybody would have done it and you would have done it yourself till now. Okay? So you must identify what will stop me from going from point A to point B. So a lot of times these constraints are, do you have the right products? Do you have the right sales channels? Do you have the right capital? And one of the most important constraints we have seen all along is, do I have the right kind of team that takes me to the next level? And of course, the biggest challenge that I have seen, other than the constraints that I talked about, is the mindset of the entrepreneur in the first place. A lot of times people say that they want to grow, they want to go to the next level, but quite frankly, they really do not have the mindset, they really don't have the commitment to take it there. It is nice to be able to talk about higher scale, but it is sometimes they're not capable or they're not actually willing to commit all the resources and energy to take it to that level. So having identified the point B and the gaps, etc., the next thing you got to ask is, do we have what it takes to take us to point B? So first and foremost clearly is, do I have the right team? So how many people in my team actually understand point B? This is a very, very important aspect that we ourselves learned that becomes a big bottleneck. For example, you want to scale your company to say 50 crores and you have a core team of say 4 people. If none of you have ever seen a company of 50 crores, clearly it will be a problem for you to understand how to scale your business to 50 crores. So in our experience, we figured out that there has to be at least one person in your core team who understands what the business looks like at your point B. Okay? This is very important. A lot of people make this mistake and then they can't figure out what is it that they're doing wrong, because they really don't know what is the right thing to do in the first place. Then of course the degree of difficulty of any business, this changes, and Anand already talked about the S curves. So typically you start getting saturated in business and you have to pretty much reinvent yourself, and in each of those S curves you will find that the degree of difficulty is different. So you need to recognize that. Again, it comes back to understanding your business and figuring out what it takes to scale up. So obviously I already talked about what brought you here may not help you in the future journey, and the knowledge of the business is an absolute must, and this is where the difference between a successful company which scales and not so successful company which does not scale shows up. Because the not so successful company, in our experience, we have found that they really have superficial knowledge about their business, and that actually doesn't help. Scaling up and being successful globally and in your domain takes serious knowledge about your business, and is very important that that knowledge is used in the scale up process. And one must know what are the levers to be pressed to get the result. For example, if I want to increase sales, what is it that I must do? Where do I need to invest? Where do I need to have my sales team? What kind of things they should be talking about? What kind of products do I have? What kind of support infrastructure do I have? All these are levers that you press. Just like in a car, when you press the accelerator, the car speeds up. When you press the brake, the car slows down. When you turn the steering wheel, the car turns. So these levers are known to us when we drive a car. In the scale-up process, one must understand what are these levers that you should press to do what you want to do. So what helps? Again, in our experience, we have found that an analytical thinking works in most cases. I already talked about how we don't want this journey to be reactive. So planning ruthlessly, do we have a strategy? Do we have the deep understanding of the customer behavior? And then analyze that behavior and figure out what is it that you have to do to win. All these are very important factors. Building a good board of advisors always helps. There is always something to learn from advisors and friends and well-wishers. And what's very important also is that you must have the systems in place to track the progress, and very importantly, do any course correction in this journey. So what I'm going to do is to take an actual example, because all the things that I talked about sounds very theoretical. So clearly we can give a lot of GAN, but at the end of the day, what really helps is to learn from an actual example. So I'm going to take an example of one of our companies that I'm associated with, and a lot of you could relate to that because it was a small company when we looked at it. And I'll just give you some data points, and you can see it on the slide here. So this particular company is in the business of designing, manufacturing and selling products. Let's take an example here that the average selling price then was, say, 5,000 rupees per unit. The customers were typically OEM customers, integrators, and at that time the company had about 50 customers. The top line then was 5 crores, so that roughly translates into the company doing about 10,000 units per year. The EBITDA was about 60 lakhs, 0.6 crores. At that time the company had 65 employees, 15 in engineering and 5 in sales. This is just a real life example of a company that we looked at. So their aspiration was to grow to a revenue of 20 crores and an EBITDA of 3 crores. Now, like I said earlier, point B should not really be talked about in revenue and EBITDA. So we said, let's paint a picture of what the point B looks like. So clearly, when you visualize what the point B looks like, it reflected in the following: that the company would have to make 50,000 units per year. Now you will ask me why 50,000, because the revenue target was 20 and average selling price was 5,000. But keep in mind that we expected the average selling price to drop from 5,000 to 4,000 at that scale. So we'll say, okay, at 20 crores of revenue, you will be talking about making 50,000 units per year. So the exit capacity at the end of the 3 years, that you would have to make roughly about 5,000 units per month. The simple calculation showed that we will need to have about 120 people in production. We'll need to make about 200 units per day. And again, a simple calculation showed that we'll need at least 300 customers. The products that the company was making will need to have more features. We'll need to have support engineers, because all these products, as the install base grows, you need to support those products. and it was felt that there was a need for having presence in Ahmedabad, Mumbai, Bangalore and Delhi. So what are the gaps? So let's analyze the gaps between where we are today and where we want to go. So today we are making 150 units per day compared to, we'll have to be making 150 units per day compared to 30 units per day that we are making today. We'll have to have 300 customers compared to 50. So where are they? Need to figure that out. We are talking about having offices in 4 cities compared to 1. We are talking about having multiple product features. Who decides? Who implements? All these are important questions. We are talking about having 10 support engineers, whereas we only have 1 today. We'll probably have to worry about cash flow. We have no clue right now what kind of cash is going to be needed to get there, etc. And like I said, we expect the price to drop to 4,000 rupees per unit from 5,000 as the revenue grows. So let's continue with this example. So what happens in the first year? Clearly, we talked about growing the capacity. So the management figured out that we need to invest at least 1.8 crores in machines and space. So bank proposal was done to raise the debt for machines, lease more space. We talked about having more product functionality. So hired a product manager to manage features, hired 3 more sales engineers, hired production manager, and this particular production manager, now this is an important part of this whole example, that this particular production manager was paid a salary higher than the founder himself, and this person had run production units for a 70 crore company before. So this person was hired because, remember I said somebody has to have seen a company that looks what it looks like at point B. Then we hired 2 customer support engineers, had detailed meetings with 40 different customers to learn, not necessarily to sell, but just to learn from what is it that the customer is looking for. Remember I talked about the deep understanding about the customer behavior. So what's the result? As you can see in the slide, we are ready for capacity ramp up. Sales have only grown to 6.5 crores from 5. The EBITDA actually dropped from 0.6 crores to 0.3 crores because remember we hired so many people, we are investing more into products and technology, but everything is going as per the plan so far. In second year, remember we talked about we needed to hire more engineers. Product manager leads the functionality, comparable quality and features to world's best, met with many more potential customers, understood how customer thinks, hired more salespeople, support people, set up the first resident office in Delhi and Bangalore, representatives in Mumbai and Ahmedabad, etc. I'm just going quickly through this example in order to keep time in mind here. So the capacity has ramped up by now, sales have grown to about 12.2 crores, EBITDA has now started growing because the sales have gone up. But now we found out that the company is really cashed out because when you start growing so fast, cash flow becomes a big problem. Third year, we hired support people in Delhi and Bangalore, had to hire some people in logistics. We had to increase the bank credit line, continue to meet customers, identified complementary product lines, started offices in Mumbai with support staff. But what happened by then is as we started scaling up, lots of quality problems started coming in because you should keep in mind that manufacturing 30 units per day is very different from manufacturing 100 units per day, etc. No? So the new production manager came to rescue. He was able to figure out how to take care of the quality problems. The sales grew from 12.2 crores to 18.3 and the EBITDA grew from 0.8 crores to 1.1 crores. This is actually, by the way, a real life example. All these numbers are real numbers. But the offices are now burning cash. And in the fourth year, a resident office was started in Chennai, hired a part-time CFO because cash flow management was a big problem, started manufacturing complementary product lines, got a CTO in place, and diversification strategies in place. The real result was at the end of year 4, the quality was under control, sales grew to about 25 crores, EBITDA was healthy at 22.9 crores, generated cash and continued to invest. So, a lot of you may relate to this story because this is what your dream is to get to from where you are to where you want to go. But what's important here is to figure out what were the learnings from all of this. Clearly, the first learning is that we did not anticipate quality problems as volumes ramped up. We did not anticipate challenges in managing a team, had to get more people in place, did not anticipate the cash flow problems, did not realize that we needed investments in production, people, etc. But what helped was ruthless planning, the annual operating plans, knowing exactly what we wanted to do in every year. We ruthlessly followed the process of quarterly goals, monthly results, and weekly tasks. And every task was clearly identified with the result expected, and the task is considered to be complete only when another task is generated or a result obtained. At that time, the company had two mentors, as we call advisors. With one, there was a quarterly meeting, another one, there was a monthly meeting with proper review mechanisms and so on. Again, learning bottlenecks. I think Anand talked about what are the constraints in the journey that you will come across. So in this particular journey, we looked at capacity was the first bottleneck. Clearly, if we believed in our vision and had the conviction that we can reach the point B, this is the risk that we have to take. Remember that the company invested upfront in the very first year 1.8 crores in growing the capacity to be able to manufacture products. What we see is many companies have the vision and the wish list to actually grow, but they're not willing to invest in what it takes to get there. This is the classic example. If the company hadn't invested the money needed to produce the products, clearly reaching the point B was just a dream and not exactly something that is supported by actions. After capacity ramped up, clearly sales was the bottleneck. Investment in sales, sales offices, training the salespeople was something that needed to be done. When the sales ramped up, the bottleneck shifted to quality, had to throw all the energy at it. Cash flow continued to remain the constraint, etc., etc. Now, each one of you in your journey will see different kinds of bottlenecks, but I'll be very surprised that the journey will be very smooth. There will always be something that you will come across that needs to be tackled, and you'll have to put in the necessary resources and the energy to de-bottleneck that constraint. Frankly, the way I look at it is the job of the CEO or the owner or the entrepreneur is to be able to get those resources that are needed to de-bottleneck any constraint that you come across. That could be money, that could be people, that could be technology, that could be access to market. Our job is to actually make that resource available to the company to continue to succeed. I just want to leave you with a thought here that without a strategy, nothing actually works. So to me, strategy is nothing but what you have to do today to realize the goals of future. And I am personally a big fan of strategy as articulated by A.G. Lafley in the book Playing to Win. You will find many different methodologies and many different frameworks for defining strategy. The one we use in our company is as described by A.G. Lafley. We basically talk about strategy as a set of 5 choices. Remember, they are choices, they are not answers, they are not questions. The 5 choices are: what's your winning ambition, where to play, how to win, capabilities needed, and the systems needed. Each one of these is a choice that the company makes, and it doesn't have to start from the first one. You can start anywhere and keep going down in circles. For example, you can start with the capabilities needed. You can say that I'll choose to have the following capabilities and the following systems, and that can define the winning ambition, that can define where you should play, and that can define how to win. The how to win, by the way, is also a choice. It's not exactly an answer. So the choice is like, am I going to reduce the price to win? Am I going to offer better service to win? Am I going to offer better functionality to win, etc. Each one of these are actually choices that we make. I think in the journey to go from point A to point B, is extremely important to have this strategy well articulated, that the entire company, not just the core team in your company, but the entire company is aware of. They all live by it, do what it takes to execute, and that's what will take you to the next level. This has helped us. This has helped a lot of companies that I'm aware of. I hope it helps you as well. If there is anything I can do personally to help you win in your journey, please let me know. We'll be very happy to help and share our experiences. Hopefully, you will at least learn what you should not be doing, because we have also made many mistakes in the past. And the least I can do is to tell you what you should not be doing. So we are very happy to support the initiative that TLC has here. If there are any questions, we'll be happy to take.
Thank you. Good evening to you. Good evening to all of you.
It was very enlightening. And of course, Renu Electronics Private Limited, force to reckon with in the field of factory automation, healthcare and home automation, having presence in US and Europe and Singapore. आणि एका अशा फील्डमध्ये तुम्ही इंडियाचा झेंडा फडकवत ठेवलाय की जिथं आपण खूप मागं आहोत. रिअल मेक इन इंडिया चॅम्पियन, अँड वी रिअली अप्रिशिएट दॅट सर.
थँक्यू व्हेरी मच.
आणि एकदम जुन्या मेथॉडॉलॉजीनं थेअरी सांगताना बरोबर एक प्रॅक्टिकल एक्झाम्पल घेऊन एक केस स्टडी ज्या पद्धतीनं पदर उलगडून तुम्ही दाखवली आणि प्रत्येक पैलूवर प्रकाश टाकला, दॅट वॉज फॅन्टॅस्टिक. आणि आम्हाला हे खूप भावलं तुमची केस स्टडी.
थँक्यू.
आता तुम्हाला मेथॉडॉलॉजी माहिती आहे. आपल्याकडे साधारणपणे 18 मिनिटं आहेत. पॅनलिस्ट आहेत ते प्रश्न गॅदर करतायत आणि त्या एक प्रश्न आपल्याला विचारले जातील. ही प्रोसेस होईपर्यंत सर मी आपल्याला एक पहिला ओपनिंग प्रश्न विचारतो. तुमच्यासारख्या हार्डकोर टेक्निकल फील्डमध्ये अर्थात तुम्ही सांगितलंय की तुम्हाला सिरियस नॉलेज लागतं, म्हणजे तुमच्या कंपनीचा जो थिंक टँक आहे तो नेहमी अपडेटेडच पाहिजे, नवीन टेक्नॉलॉजी तुम्ही आणत असता, तर तुम्हाला ते सिरियस नॉलेज लागतं, सुपरफिशियल नॉलेज तुम्हाला काम करत नाही. तर हे नॉलेज सतत अपग्रेडेड ठेवण्यासाठी आणि वेगवेगळ्या टेक्नॉलॉजी आणण्यासाठी आपण काय करता? म्हणजे तुम्ही बाहेरनं काही कन्सल्टंट आणता ट्रेनिंगला, का तुम्ही इंटरनल काही ट्रेनिंग सिस्टीम डेव्हलप केलेली आहे, किंवा यू कॅन ट्रेन युअर पीपल युअर सेल्फ, म्हणजे यू आर एन IIT बॉम्बे अल्युमिनस आणि MS फ्रॉम USA, सो यू आर कॅपेबल इनफ टू डू ऑल दॅट. पण तुम्ही स्वतः काय करता? कारण एवढ्या मोठ्या स्केलला तुम्ही स्वतः टीच करणं मला वाटत नाही शक्य आहे. हाऊ डू यू गो अबाउट इट?
सगळ्यात पहिली गोष्ट म्हणजे या सगळ्यासाठी एक टीम चांगली असणं अत्यंत आवश्यक आहे. सो मला याचा अभिमान आहे की माझ्याकडे माझ्या नशिबानं म्हणा किंवा माझ्यासारखे पॅशनेट असणारे लोक भरपूर आहेत आणि वी हॅव सेकंड लेवल लाईन मॅनेजर्स. त्यांची जबाबदारी त्यांची टीम तयार करणं ही अशी आहे आणि दे डू अ ग्रेट जॉब इन ट्रेनिंग दॅम. मी स्वतः प्रचंड अभ्यास करतो. आज सुद्धा रोज म्हणजे कमीत कमी 2 तास जगात काय चाललं आहे, नवीन टेक्नॉलॉजी काय आहे, नवीन प्रोसेसर्स काय आहेत, नवीन कंपोनंट्स कशा प्रकारचे येतात, याचा अभ्यास करणं मला मनापासून आवडतं आणि मला वाटतं त्याची गरज पण आहे. कारण कसं आहे की आमचं फील्ड हे असं आहे की दर 2 वर्षानं किंवा 3 वर्षानं पूर्ण टेक्नॉलॉजी बदलते. आमचे स्वतःचे प्रॉडक्ट्स जे आहेत ते त्याचे पण नवीन जनरेशन्स आम्ही लिटरली दर 2-3 वर्षांना नवीन काढत असतो. आणि ते नाही केलं तर कोणतरी दुसरं आपल्या पुढे पटकन जातं आणि आपल्याला कळत पण नाही. त्यामुळे स्वतः अभ्यास करण्याला पर्याय नाही, अभ्यास करणाऱ्या लोकांशी बोलण्याला पर्याय नाही, त्यांच्याकडनं पण शिकवून घ्यावं लागतं. आणि मी स्वतः प्रवास पण खूप करतो, कस्टमर्सना भेटतो, व्हेंडर्सना भेटतो आणि त्या आमच्या फील्डमधल्या जाणकार लोकांना पण सतत भेटत असतो. आणि आम्ही आता बऱ्याच वेगळ्या फील्डमध्ये डायव्हर्सिफाय पण केले. आमची हेल्थकेअरमध्ये एक बिझनेस युनिट आहे, ऑटोमोटिव्हमध्ये एक बिझनेस युनिट आहे. त्या सगळ्या फील्डमधनं त्या फील्डमधल्या जे जाणकार लोक आहेत त्यांना भेटून त्यांच्याकडनं समजून घेणं हे अत्यंत महत्त्वाचं असतं. त्यातनं सुटका नाही असं मला वाटतं. कारण आता मग मी मगाशी म्हटलं तसं सुपरफिशियल नॉलेज असणं आणि त्याचा आव आणणं खूप सोपं असतं, परंतु खरं नॉलेज आणि त्याच्यातनं ताऊन सुलाखून निघणं ज्याला म्हणतात ना, ते अत्यंत आवश्यक असतं.
Great, sir. That is fantastic and eye opener of many of us. Real big takeaway. मी पुढचा प्रश्न संजय तुम्ही विचारा.
हॅलो सर, नमस्कार. मी संजय कारखानीच बोलतोय. माझ्या डोक्यात एक प्रश्न असा आहे की ज्या वेळेला तुम्ही ऑर्बिट शिफ्टच्या बरेचशा स्टेप्स सांगितल्यात, त्यामध्ये एक म्हणजे आपल्यापेक्षा ज्या आपली ॲस्पिरेशन साईज आहे त्या साईजच्या कंपनीतला एखादा सिनियर माणूस घेणे, ही एक तुम्ही स्टेप, एखादा किंवा एकापेक्षा जास्त, तर ही करत असताना सर्वसामान्य उद्योजकाला जो प्रश्न भेडसावत असतो की हा एक्सपिरियन्स माणूस जो येईल तो माझ्या कंपनीचं कल्चर डायल्यूट करेल का, कोर व्हॅल्यूज डायल्यूट करेल का, तर असं काही तुमच्या अनुभवातनं आम्हाला थोडं शिकायला आवडेल.
हो, ऍक्च्युली हा अत्यंत चांगला प्रश्न आहे खरं सांगायचं तर. कारण कंपनीचं कल्चर हे अत्यंत महत्वाचं असतं. आपण जेव्हा सिनियर लोक बाहेरनं आणतो तेव्हा अशी एक भीती नेहमीच असते की आपल्या कंपनीचं कल्चर त्यामुळे बिघडेल का. परंतु त्यासाठीच ही एक प्रोसेस असते ना की आपण इंटरव्ह्यू घेतो, त्या माणसाला नीट समजल्याशिवाय आपण कुठल्याही व्यक्तीला आपल्या कंपनीमध्ये घेत नाही. आणि बाय द वे मी असं नाही म्हटलं कधी की बाहेरनंच कोणी माणूस आणायला पाहिजे असं. मी एवढंच म्हटलं की पॉइंट बी माहिती असलेली व्यक्ती आपल्या बरोबर असायला पाहिजे. आपल्या कोर टीम मध्ये कोणतरी एक तरी कमीत कमी अशी व्यक्ती पाहिजे की ज्यांना आपण कुठे जातो आहे त्याची आयडिया त्या व्यक्तीला असली पाहिजे. नसेल तर काय होतं की आपण सगळेच जर का शिकत असू तर पुढे येणारे प्रॉब्लेम्स कशा प्रकारचे असतात हे कोणाला कळतच नाही आणि वी गेट ब्लाइंड साइडेड व्हेरी क्विकली. सो यू टू बी केअरफुल. पण टू आन्सर युअर स्पेसिफिक क्वेश्चन की बाहेरनं जर का व्यक्ती आणली तर कसं मॅनेज करायचं, तर हे सोपं नसतं, यात काही शंका नाहीये. आमच्याकडे सुद्धा रेणू इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्समध्ये सुद्धा आम्ही आमच्या लोकांनाच पुढे सरकण्याचा वाव जास्ती देतो. आमच्याकडे जी सगळी लिडरशिप टीम आहे त्यातले बरेचसे लोक हे आमच्या बरोबरच ग्रो झालेले आहेत. फक्त एवढंच आहे की पुढे आपल्याला जिथे जायचं आहे त्याची आयडिया असलेले लोक पण आमच्याकडे आहेत. मी स्वतः वेगवेगळ्या कंपनीच्या बोर्डवर असल्यामुळे किंवा बाकी बऱ्याच कंपन्यांमध्ये इन्व्हेस्ट करत असल्यामुळे जनरली एक चांगली आयडिया असते की मोठ्या कंपन्यांमध्ये किंवा आपल्यापेक्षा मोठं होण्यासाठी त्या कंपन्यांना कशा प्रकारच्या अडचणी आल्या, त्यांचे इश्यूज काय असतात हे समजणं अत्यंत आवश्यक असतं. तर जर का तुमच्याकडे अशी कोणी व्यक्ती नसेल तर जरूर बाहेर न घ्या. कल्चर डायल्यूट करायची वेळ आली तरी हे एकमेकांना समजून घेऊनच करायचं असतं. कदाचित ती व्यक्ती चांगलं कल्चर पण आणेल असंही असेल, कदाचित तुम्ही ग्रो होत नाही याचं कारण तुमचं आत्ताचं कल्चर पण असेल. तर हे सगळं स्वतःहून आपण डोळे उघडे ठेवून बघायचं असतं. ते बघितलं नाही तर उलट आपण जास्तीच चिखलात जातो असं म्हणतो, पाय अजून रुतत जातो असं म्हणतात, तसं आहे.
राईट सर, दॅट वॉज फॅन्टॅस्टिक. पण सर याचाच थ्रेड घेऊन मी पुढचा प्रश्न आपल्याला विचारतो की पॉईंट ए सपोज आपण 10 कोटीला आहे आणि पॉईंट बी आपण डिफाईन केला ऍस्पिरेशनल आपलं टार्गेट आहे 100 कोटीचा. तर एक माणूस तरी आपल्या कोर टीम मध्ये पाहिजे जो यानं पॉईंट बी बघितलेला आहे. तो पॉईंट आपण स्वतः सुद्धा आपण बघितलेला नाहीये. तर पॉईंट बी मधला माणूस घेतला की साधारणपणे आपल्या इकडची प्लांट हेड लेवलची सपोज सॅलरी 1 लाख रुपये असेल तर पॉईंट बी बघितलेला माणूस हा नेहमी 2 किंवा 3 लाख रुपयाचा असतो.
बरोबर.
मग त्यावेळी तो माणूस ज्यावेळी आपण आपल्या इकडे आणतो त्यावेळी त्या माणसाला आपल्या ऑर्गनायझेशन मध्ये कित्येक वर्ष काम करणाऱ्या लोकांपेक्षा कित्येक पटीनं जास्त पगार देणे, किंबहुना आपल्यापेक्षाही काही वेळा जास्त पगार देणं, हे म्हणजे त्यामुळं आता सध्याचं ऍपल कार्ट आपलं डिस्टर्ब होत नाही का? तुमचा प्रॅक्टिकल अनुभव याबद्दल काय?
नाही, होतं, बऱ्याच वेळा तसं होतं. पण काय असतं की आपल्याकडे त्याला काळाची गरज असा एक शब्द आहे. काळाची गरज आहे, ती गोष्ट तुम्ही नाही केली तर तुम्ही ग्रो होणार नाही. आणि मी मगाशी माझ्या प्रेझेंटेशन पण म्हटलं तसं की बऱ्याच वेळा एंटरप्रेन्योर लोकांना मला ग्रो व्हायचंय हे म्हणणं छान वाटतं म्हणून आपण म्हणतो की मला ग्रो व्हायचंय, पण त्यासाठी त्यासाठी लागणाऱ्या ज्या गोष्टी आहेत त्या करण्याची आपली इच्छा नसते. तर ही एक उदाहरण झालं की आपल्यापेक्षा जास्ती पगारावरती कोणी आणायचं का नाही आणायचं. पण शेवटी काय आहे की आपण जे करतो त्याचा आपण पगार देतोय, आपण जे करतो त्याचा आपण रेम्युनरेशन देतोय. जर का ती व्यक्ती आपल्याला 10 कोटीवर 100 कोटीवर नेणार असेल आणि त्यासाठी त्या व्यक्तीला लागणारा मोबदला त्याला द्यावा लागणार असेल तर तो द्यायलाच पाहिजे. आपल्याकडची जी व्यक्ती आता आपल्याकडचे जे लोक काम करणारे आहेत जर का ते पण त्याच प्रकारे चांगले असतील तर त्यांना पण पगार चांगला हा द्यायलाच पाहिजे, त्यात काही शंका नाहीये. कारण शेवटी आय ट्रुली बिलीव्ह की यू गेट व्हॉट यू पे फॉर. जर का तुम्ही तसं नाही केलं तर त्यांनी त्रास होतो. आम्ही स्वतः पण हे अनुभवलंय. मला माझं स्वतःचं कल्चर पण मध्यमवर्गीय लोअर मिडल क्लास फॅमिलीमधून आणण्याचं कल्चर आपलं असंच असतं की बापरे एवढे पैसे कसे द्यायचे. पण हे मी आता आमच्या मुलांकडून शिकलो. आमचे मुलं लहान असताना ज्या प्रकारे की मला जी हवी ती वस्तू भले ती मी घेणार नाही, पण घेईन तर जी चांगली आहे, योग्य आहे तीच घेईन. हे आपण आपल्या पुढच्या पिढीकडनं शिकतो. ते आपलं खरं सांगायचं तर आपलं चुकतंच की आपण जी गोष्ट चांगली आहे त्याचा योग्य मोबदला आपण आपली द्यायची इच्छा नसते. हे खरंच आहे. तर मी म्हणजे माझ्या लहानपणी जर का माझ्या चपला 100 रुपयाला घेत असेल आणि मी आज पण 100 रुपयाला चप्पल घ्यायचा विचार करत असेल तर ते माझं चुकतंय ना. सो आय थिंक वी हॅव टू लुक फॉर व्हॉट इज द राईट थिंग ॲट दॅट गिव्हन पॉइंट अँड मस्ट बी विलिंग टू पे फॉर इट अँड सॅक्रिफाईस फॉर इट. नाही तर ते होणार नाही. नाही तर हे नुसतं बोलणंच झालं ना. असं होतं, असं मला वाटतं.
राईट सर, फॅन्टॅस्टिक आन्सर, अगदी तंतोतंत पटलेला आहे. आणि पुढचा प्रश्न संजीवजींकडे आहे. संजीव.
सर गुड इव्हनिंग.
गुड इव्हनिंग.
तुम्ही आता म्हटलात की दर 2-3 वर्षांनी टेक्नॉलॉजी पूर्णपणे बदलती
आमच्या फील्डमध्ये.
आणि बहुतेक आम्ही आता सॉफ्टवेअर फील्डमध्ये आहोत, आमच्याकडेही बदलती. तर ह्या केसमध्ये की R&D वरती किती खर्च करावा छोट्या ऑर्गनायझेशन्सनी आणि ते डिपार्टमेंट कशा पद्धतीनं हँडल करावं, आणि असा काही फॉर्म्युला आहे का की बाबा सर रेव्हेन्यूच्या एवढ्या % तरी आपण R&D वरती खर्च करत राहिलं पाहिजे एव्हरी इयर?
So actually it's a good question which doesn't have a one size fits all answer. Okay, so सगळ्यात पहिली गोष्ट म्हणजे R&D एक्सपेंडिचर हे अत्यंत आवश्यक आहे, त्यात काही शंका नाहीये. It largely depends on the return that R&D investment gets for you. आणि याचं उत्तर प्रॉडक्ट कंपनीसाठी वेगळं असतं, सर्व्हिसेस कंपनीसाठी वेगळं असतं. आम्ही आमच्या कंपनीमध्ये आता जवळपास एक 8-8.5% आमचं जे एक्सपेंडिचर रेव्हेन्यू आहे तो R&D मध्ये खर्च करतो आता. ओके, पण याचं कारण असं की आम्ही म्हणजे मग अर्थात मग ग्रॉस मार्जिन पण त्या प्रकारे तुम्हाला मिळत असेल तर R&D वरती खर्च हा अनिवार्य आहे, त्याशिवाय तुम्हाला पर्याय नाही. जर का टेक्नॉलॉजी खूप सारखी बदलत असेल तर त्यासाठी लागणारं प्रॉडक्ट मॅनेजमेंट हे जर का नसेल तर R&D वरचा खर्च हा बऱ्याच वेळा वाया जातो, असा आमचा अनुभव आहे. तुम्ही जर का प्रॉडक्ट बिझनेसमध्ये असाल तर आय वुड रादर इन्व्हेस्ट व्हेरी हेविली इन प्रॉडक्ट मॅनेजमेंट बिफोर आय इन्व्हेस्ट इन R&D. So if you don't have strong product management, investments in R&D go west. So you have to be very careful about it. But I would it's not possible to run a good product business that scales up with an expenditure of less than 5 to 6% of your revenue in R&D. Good companies spend a lot more than that. And as you grow bigger, in fact, आपण केलेल्या इन्व्हेस्टमेंटचं जर का रिटर्न्स चांगले आले तर इव्हेंच्युअली हा नंबर कमी होऊ शकतो. म्हणजे आज आम्ही जर का 500 कोटीला आम्ही काही खर्च करत असतो तर 5,000 कोटीला त्याच्या 10 पट खर्च करावा लागत नाही. And that's the beauty of product business. That's the beauty of a scalable business. That's why you must understand the levers of your business. मी मगाशीच म्हटलं की कुठला लिव्हर प्रेस करा की काय घडतं. Your business may be dependent on the R&D lever. If you come out with better and better products, you will scale up better. But then you must invest that money and get the necessary investment to be able to support it for sure.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Right, sir. मध्ये सर आपल्या स्पीच मध्ये आपण यू टॉक्ड व्हेरी पॅशनेटली अबाउट मेनी थिंग्स. यू टॉक्ड अबाउट रूथलेस प्लॅनिंग, यू टॉक्ड अबाउट मॉनिटरिंग थिंग्स, यू टॉक्ड अबाउट tracking the progress, you talked about course correction if required, and you of course talked about deep understanding of customer needs and customer behavior. So deep understanding of customer need and behavior, याचं काय एखादं आपल्या रिअल लाईफ एक्झाम्पल आम्हाला द्या?
अनेक आहेत. I mean, you have to spend time with your customers, you have to learn from them, you have to learn their behaviors. आणि ते प्लेइंग टू विन जे मगाशी पुस्तक म्हटलं त्यामध्ये खूप चांगले त्यांनी उदाहरणं दिलेली आहेत. आय वुड एनकरेज टू रीड दॅट बुक. पण आमच्या स्वतःच्या केसमध्ये मी स्वतः म्हणजे मी वर्षातनं जवळपास गेलं वर्ष जरा कोविडमुळे प्रवास झाला नाही, पण आय ऍक्च्युली ट्रॅव्हल ऑल ओव्हर द वर्ल्ड. मी वर्षाला जवळपास 1-1.5 लाख मैल प्रवास करतो. बट आय मीट अ लॉट ऑफ कस्टमर्स, आय स्पेंड टाइम विथ देम. आणि सगळ्यात महत्वाचं म्हणजे मी कस्टमर्सना भेटतो तेव्हा पहिल्यांदाच त्यांना हे सांगतो मी तुला काहीही विकायला आलेलं नाहीये, मला तुला काही विकायचं नाहीये, पण मला तुझ्याकडनं शिकायचंय. आय वॉन्ट टू लर्न हाऊ यू डू अँड हाऊ यू डू बिझनेस अँड हाऊ आय कॅन सपोर्ट यू बेटर. आता लिटरली मी गेल्या आठवड्यामध्ये अमेरिकेला होतो, तर -25°C मध्ये मी एका कस्टमरकडे जाऊन त्याच्या मशीनवरती ते नवीन मशीन करतायत असं ऐकलं होतं. आय ऍक्च्युली वेंट स्पेंड टाइम. आम्ही बाहेर लिटरली त्या थंडीमध्ये दोघे जण कुडकुडत उभं, पण त्याने मी ते मशीन कसं चालतं समजून घेण्यासाठी त्याच्याबरोबर वेळ घालवला. आणि त्याला एक्झॅक्टली अडचणी काय आहेत, कशा प्रकारचं त्याला डेटा लागतो, कशा प्रकारचं त्याला कंट्रोल लागतो हे शिकून घेण्यासाठी मी स्वतः त्याबरोबर राहिलो. आता शिकागो मधला सेल्सचा माणूस माझ्याबरोबर याला काकू करत होता, पण दॅट्स माय कमिटमेंट टू लर्न द कस्टमर. आणि आम्ही वी आर नाऊ गोइंग टू वर्क ऑन आवर प्रॉडक्ट लाईन विच कॅन हेल्प कस्टमर्स लाईक दॅट. मी गेल्या 3 आठवड्यापूर्वी एका कोंबड्यांची शेती करणाऱ्या लोकांसाठी बनवणारे जे इक्विपमेंट असतात ते बनवणाऱ्या त्या एका कस्टमरकडे जाऊन नुसतं बघायला. मला स्वतःला त्या बिझनेस मधलं काही कळत नाही, पण कंट्रोल मधलं कळतं. पण त्या लोकांच्या अडचणी काय ते आपल्याला समजल्याशिवाय आपण योग्य प्रकारची प्रॉडक्ट कशी करणार. हेल्थकेअर बिझनेसमध्ये आम्ही एका म्हणजे माझं को फाउंडर डॉक्टर आहे शिकागोमध्ये आमच्या हेल्थकेअर बिझनेस युनिटमध्ये, आणि त्यांचे प्रॉब्लेम समजायला मी स्वतः अमेरिकेमध्ये इमर्जन्सी रूममध्ये जाऊन ते काय तिथे परिस्थिती आहे बघण्यासाठी असं एक नाटक केलं की मला बरं वाटत नाही, चल जाऊन बघू. यू गॉट टू गो लर्न, यू गॉट टू हॅव डीप अंडरस्टँडिंग अबाउट व्हॉट द चॅलेंजेस देअर आर. ते नाही केलं तर इट्स अ सुपरफिशियल नॉलेज. आपल्याला म्हणजे आपण घरात बसून असं एक विचार करतो की त्याला असा प्रॉब्लेम असेल कदाचित, आणि त्याला कदाचित आपण सोडवतो त्या प्रकारचं सोल्युशन हवं असेल. ते घरात बसून ते मनातले मांडे शिजत नाहीत, ते तिथे जाऊनच बघावं लागतात. आणि आपल्या टीमला पण तेच करायला सांगावं लागतं. त्यांनी सुद्धा कस्टमरकडे जाऊन त्यांच्या अडचणी समजून घ्याव्या, त्यांच्याकडनं त्यांना काय एक्झॅक्टली हवे समजून घ्यावं, हे अत्यंत महत्वाचं. त्यासाठी इन्व्हेस्टमेंट करावं लागते. यू कॅन इमॅजिन हाऊ मच मनी आय स्पेंड इन जस्ट लर्निंग व्हॉट माय कस्टमर्स वॉन्ट. हॅव टू डू इट. There's no alternative to it, unfortunately. No easy way out, as they say it.
ग्रेट सर, व्हेरी नाईस टू हिअर. आणि तुम्ही आमच्याबरोबर इतके चांगले कनेक्ट होत आहे, कारण आमचा TLCचा सरांनी शिकवलेला गाभाच तो आहे की लर्निंग ॲटिट्यूड ठेवा. आणि आमच्या TLCचे जर इथोच ऐकलेत तर नोईंग बाय डुईंग ह्या इथपासून ते सुरुवात होतात. आणि तुम्ही प्रत्यक्ष मैदानात जाऊन, ज्याला आम्ही गेम्बा म्हणतो, की जिथं गोष्टी घडतात तिथे तुम्ही जाऊन काम करता, हे बघून मला अत्यंत आनंद वाटला. सर, इट वॉज ग्रेट टॉकिंग टू यू. आणि थँक्स अ लॉट सर. वेळेच्या अभावी मी पुढे अजून क्वेश्चन आन्सर सेशन देत नाहीये. आमच्याकडे प्रत्येकाकडे भरपूर क्वेश्चन आलेले आहेत. पीपल वॉन्ट टू रिॲक्ट विथ यू, बट आपल्याला इथं हा क्लोज करू. थँक्स अ लॉट. ओव्हर टू यू बागवे सर, यू कॅन सम अप.
नमस्कार अजयजी.
नमस्कार.
Tremendously impressed by what we just heard, and the question answer sessions were also equally insightful. As usual, me आमच्या TLC करिक्युलमच्या लिव्हर्सच्या मॅप मध्ये जर हे टाकायचं म्हटलं तर मला वाटतं वेळ पूर्ण नाही, पण 3 जे मेजर इन्साइट्स आय वॉन्ट टू शेअर विथ एव्हरीबडी. कनेक्ट TLC अँड व्हॉट यू सेड युअर बोथ. आणि अतिशय महत्वाचा मुद्दा तुम्ही मांडला की अपना धंदा क्या है. आय थिंक दिस इज व्हेरी व्हेरी इम्पॉर्टंट, हाऊ टू अंडरस्टँड युअर बिझनेस इन द डीपेस्ट वे. तुम्ही मिशन म्हणा, कोर पर्पज म्हणा, काही म्हणा, पण ते समजलं नाही तर पुढचं पॉइंट बी समजणार नाही. सेकंड पॉइंट विच यू सेड, अँड आय थिंक देशपांडे सर पण तेच म्हणाले की यू नीड टू इमॅजिन और यू नीड टू सी युअरसेल्फ ॲट पॉइंट बी. आपण त्याला विजनिंग म्हणू या अजून काय म्हणू, पण त्या पॉइंट बी तुम्ही कसे दिसणार याचा आपल्याला नरेटिव्ह क्रिएट करताच आला पाहिजे. The objective, of course, it also motivates and excites your people when you see a picture. But the important is you know where you are and the gaps. And you rightly said the gaps are very important. Third point, learnings, of course. Learning is one of my values. And learning never stops. And the way you are learning from the customers, I think that is the best way to learn. And त्या learning ला मग तुम्ही serious knowledge असणं तुमच्याकडे match that learning so that you capitalize on that and come out with products. So I think it was a fantastic way you put it up. And with the case study, of course, सगळ्यांना ते समजायला अतिशय सोपं झालं. I want to thank you on behalf of TLC, and again I would take this opportunity, if you permit, that we will align ourselves with you and your social objectives, and see how TLCS can benefit from your knowledge.
Yeah, I appreciate it. In fact, appreciate the opportunity to talk to you. आणि मी पहिलेच म्हटलं त्याप्रमाणे I really want to acknowledge and thank you for doing this initiative. कारण entrepreneurship शिवाय माझ्या मते आपल्या देशाला पर्याय नाहीये. आणि anything all of us have to learn from each other. And if there is anything I can do to help, I'll be more than happy to. Prasad has all my contact information, so if you think there is something I can do to help, just reach out, and I'll be more than happy to help. Okay.
Really nice.
Thank you very much. Good night to all.